Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Cold Hard Truth podcast. It's Srikar here, and we are going to go over 10 players who I feel can break out this year and step into stardom. That's what I should say. Who are the next stars of the NFL, basically. So I picked out 10 players. Of course, plenty of other players could have made this list, but these were the top 10 that really came to mind. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. We are at 200 subs officially, so we want to thank you guys again for the support. Next goal now, 250. And without further ado, let's get in. Jonathan Abram, safety for the Las Vegas Raiders. So, of course, Jonathan Abram, he landed on IR last year after only one appearance in that Broncos game. He tore his rotator cuff, I believe, so really ending his season before it really began. And the Raiders used the 27th pick on Abram, making him the second safety drafted in 2019. The first, Darnell Savage, I'd say he set a high bar during his rookie season. And you look at what Abram's coming back to. He's rejoining a deep safety group that should push him as he strives to, carve out a spot for himself in what is a crowded landscape in Las Vegas. He certainly has the talent. I'd say he also has the capacity to become a star in the NFL. But you look at the depth chart, you already got Eric Harris, Jeff Heath, Demarius Randall. I mean, Las Vegas already employs 3 safeties that served in starting roles last year. So that's why I could have put Jonathan Abram higher, but this is the reason why he's at 10. But I do think he has so much potential that's just untapped because of that injury. I mean, looking back at that Broncos game, I really see it in this guy. At number 9, Sam Darnold. And I know Jack's going to be happy to see this. Look, a poorly timed case of mono. We know that sidelined Sam Darnold for a few weeks toward the start of the season. It took even longer before he got back into a rhythm. In his first 4 games back after recovering from mono, he threw 5 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. However, Darnold provided a spark for the Jets during their final 8 games. He threw for 1,947 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions as New York went on a 6-2 run. The Jets went 1-7 during the first half of the season. That should prove Darnold as that should. If you want to say that Darnold isn't valuable, that's the straight case against it. I'll say that. So assuming another freak illness or injury doesn't strike, I think Darnold should finally roll into a season without distractions. Only distraction probably being the Jamal Adams situation, opt-outs, all of that. But, I mean, either way, I think the Jets poured a lot of time and money into their offensive line this season, including the 11th pick, which they used on Mekhi Becton. New York also tried surrounding Darnold with new weapons. Of course, you had Rashad Perriman in free agency, and you draft Denzel Mims. So I think Darnold could take that next step, whether it's this year, maybe the year after. But I'm not a Darnold hater by any means. I think he still has a lot of potential there. Let's move on to number 8. I had Juan Thornhill from the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Tyrann Mathieu and Juan Thornhill formed one of the best safety duos in the NFL this past season. As a rookie, Thornhill started all 16 regular season games, amassing 3 interceptions, 5 passes defended, a defensive touchdown, and 58 tackles. Unfortunately, he tore his ACL in Kansas City's final regular season matchup. They said Mathieu and Thornhill are already a top 10 safety duo. I think I'd agree with PFF in this case. I mean, the 2019 draft produced several phenomenal safeties, and Thornhill looks like he could develop into a borderline Pro Bowler. So I have Juan Thornhill at number 8. Let's move on to number 7, Drew Lock. And I'd say Lock's rookie year didn't go as planned, although it's hard to say if Vic Fangio had any control over last season. We all know Lock missed the majority of Denver's season as the Broncos relied on Joe Flacco and Brandon Allen. Eventually, Lock got healthy, and Broncos fans, just any fan, everyone was calling for his appearance, and Fangio, he then complied. Lock started Denver's final 5 games. The Broncos went 4-1, including an impressive win. I think it was 38-24, the score. I mean, that is a very impressive win over the Houston Texans. However, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs dominated Lock in Denver in a snow game at Arrowhead. I think the score of that game was 23-3. So Locke finished his rookie season with 1,020 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. And then over the offseason, the Broncos signed Melvin Gordon and drafted 3 wide receivers, including Jerry Jeudy. You could go check out our AFC West predictions. We have an episode solely on the Broncos. You can check those out, but we cover it more there. But with a new group of weapons, I think Locke and the Broncos could become wildcard candidates in the AFC West, if not already. Let's move on to number 6, Taylor Rapp, safety for the Los Angeles Rams. And while some people viewed Taylor Rapp as a borderline first-round pick last year, NFL teams didn't agree. He fell to 63rd overall, where the Rams finally pulled the trigger, and I'd say LA got lucky. John Johnson, who started 5 of the team's first 6 games, suffered a season-ending injury 6 weeks into the year. Rapp stepped into that starting role alongside Eric Weddle. In his 15 appearances and 10 starts, Rapp recorded 2 interceptions, 8 passes defended, 1 defensive touchdown, and 100 tackles. After the season, Weddle retired, so that's going to leave spots for Johnson and Rapp in the starting lineup, and I think that he is going to bloom into a great safety. At number 5, moving into the top 5 now, DK Metcalf. And looking back to last year, DK Metcalf turned heads in the pre-draft process. He is literally one of the most imposing wide receivers in the NFL right now. At the combine, Metcalf ran a blistering 4.33 40-yard dash. For reference, Henry Ruggs ran the fastest time among wide receivers with a 4.27 40-yard dash this year. Ruggs is 5 inches shorter and 41 pounds lighter than Metcalf. So that 40 time is just insane. But of course, Metcalf's route running, there were so many concerns about that, and that ultimately dropped him to 64th overall. And when the Seahawks saw Metcalf falling, they traded up to the final pick in the second round and gladly stopped his slide. Metcalf repaid Seattle by producing 58 receptions for 900 yards and 7 touchdowns as a rookie. I do think Metcalf still needs to develop his underneath routes, but I will say he is already an elite deep threat. Plus, he's paired with arguably the best deep passer in the NFL. I mean, you look at that wildcard game against Philly, Metcalf averaged over 22 yards per reception. He just absolutely shredded Philly's secondary. I think the final stat line was 160. Plenty of explosive performances from Metcalf in 2020. Let's move on to number 4, though. Devin Bush of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Devin White and Devin Bush, they were the only true linebackers selected in the first round back in 2019. Both went in the top 10. White, he put on an impressive showing in Tampa Bay. He tallied 3 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries, 2 defensive touchdowns, and 91 tackles. But I think Bush is in an even better position to become a star in 2020. As a rookie, Bush recorded 2 interceptions, a forced fumble, 4 fumble recoveries, a defensive touchdown, and 109 tackles. I think his 40 time was 4.43. That falls short of Ryan Shazier's 4.36 40 time. But Bush's raw physical abilities, I think that makes him the perfect piece at the heart of a Steelers defense that's elite at this point. You cannot say otherwise. In his second season, I'd say Bush has to improve in pass coverage, and I'd expect him to finish a larger percentage of his tackles. That's all it needs for him to become an elite linebacker. Moving into the top 3, this one might surprise you guys. At number 3, Jeffrey Simmons of the Tennessee Titans. So Simmons was a projected first-round pick in 2019 before he tore an ACL during a workout. And I know a lot of scouts believed Simmons possessed top 12 potential before going down. However, Mike Vrabel and the Titans, that injury didn't really deter them at all, and they took him at 19. At the time, virtually no one even knew if Simmons would play during his rookie season. Fortunately, Simmons' recovery went smoothly, very good for him, and he got back on the field faster than anyone expected. He appeared in 9 games, and he recorded 2 sacks and 32 tackles during 314 defensive snaps. And the Titans felt so confident in him that they traded Jarrell Casey this offseason. So I think this guy is going to break out and be the next great Titans pass rusher. Let's move on to our top 2. At number 2, Dallas Goedert, tight end for the Eagles. If not for Zach Ertz, Goedert might already be a star. He is one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL, and he possesses a larger frame than George Kittle at 6'5", 256 pounds. I mean, Goedert is a nightmare for defensive backs and even linebackers too. In 2019, Goedert made 58 receptions for 607 yards. NFL.com, they recently made a list of their projected first-time Pro Bowlers. I think it was written by Mark Sessler, and they included Goedert on there. And I'll say this, if Goedert ever becomes the lone feature tight end, I'd say his ceiling is the same level as Kittle's. That's how confident I am in Dallas Goedert. Let's move on to number 1, Miles Sanders. Another Eagle takes the top spot. And we know with Miles Sanders, he stole Jordan Howard's starting job last year, and he never looked back. He took a back seat to Josh Jacobs in conversations surrounding the 2 rookie running backs. But I'd say Sanders had a more successful year than Jacobs. Listen to this. It took Jacobs 262 times to reach 1,316 yards from scrimmage and 7 total touchdowns. In comparison, Sanders amassed 1,327 yards from scrimmage and 6 total touchdowns on only 229 touches. With Howard gone, I think Sanders should see his touch total rise significantly in 2020. Previously, Philadelphia used a running back by committee approach. However, I think they seem captivated by Sanders' potential as a lead back. If his rookie season is any indication, I think Sanders could become one of the NFL's most versatile ball carriers. And also, something you should note, Philadelphia enters the 2020 season with Corey Clement and Boston Scott as the only other notable running backs on the roster. So I think Miles Sanders is set up beautifully in Philadelphia, and he is my top 1 breakout player of the year. But that's going to conclude it. So let's go over the list real quick. Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert, Jeffrey Simmons, Devin Bush, Metcalf, Rapp, Locke, Thornhill, and then Darnold, Abram. So that is my list. Let me know what you guys would change. Who was your breakout player of the year? I'm curious to know. And keep on bringing that support, man. We love you guys. And until next time, this is Srikar. Peace.